Hey guys, what's up? It's Kevin for the win, and we're back for another edition of Monster Hunter Rise. Today on the channel, we're taking a look at a 2.0 Switch Axe build. We're going to be using Rex Nasher, which is a very good Switch Axe. We're going to be using Omduron Helm S. That way we have Rapid Morph level 2. We're also going to be using the Omradon Mail S. This gives us Razor Sharp level 2, as well as Power Prolonger. We're going to be using Kaiser Van Braces. This gives us a good level 2 slot, as well as Critical Eye, which we want on this build. We're also going to be using Narkuga Coil S. That way we can get Evade Extender on here. Golden Hakama for the legs, Critical Boost, Laden Power. Demon Pellets, I recommend level 3. You can use whatever you want, though. It's a matter of your own personal preferences, really. Fatal Tempest Talisman we're using is a Weakness Exploit level 2. Unfortunately, it's got 2 level 1 slots. Preferably, you would like a 2 level 2 slots. Let me break this down for you fully. Attack 235. Based on the gems, we have affinity at 6% because the Tigrex weapon actually starts with negative affinity. Defense boost 463. As far as resistances, not really anything to really scoff too much about. Skill-wise, we get Critical Eye level 4, Critical Boost level 3, Weakness Exploit level 3, Stamina Thief level 3, Rapid Morph level 3, Razor Sharp level 2, Evade Extender level 2, and a Latent Power, as well as Power Prolonger level 1, Speed Sharpening level 1, and a Flinch Free for the heck of it. Critical Eye level 4, Affinity plus 20%. Critical Boost says 40% damage increase for critical hits that you do. Weakness Exploit says wherever you attack a weak spot, you do 40% damage. Stamina Thief increases the possibility of exhausting a monster. Razor Sharp here is very important. Evade Extender just extends the range of evading. Rapid Morph changes your Switch Axe quicker. That's what that particular skill does for those who are not particularly familiar. We're using a exhaust file particular Switch Axe, so since we're using that, we are going to be using Stamina Thief because we can abuse it significantly. Now, people always ask me about the gems, which I never really cover, so we're going to cover it here. Omradon Helm, I put an Expert level 2 jewel here, 2 slots of that. Drain level 1 jewel here in the mail. Kaiser Van Braces, we put a Tenderizer jewel 2, that way we get Weakness Exploit level 3. The Narkuga Coil, we get Quick Switch Jewel level 2, that way we get Rapid Morph level 3. For the Golden Hakama, 2 more Drain Jewels, so we max out the Stamina Thief. Then here, I just put a Brace and a Grinder just for good measure. It could be anything you want in that particular slot. Okay, so for the purpose of this showcase, we will be fighting a small and quick monster, Great Azuchi. That way I can show you how quick and powerful this weapon is. I know a lot of people wanted me to do a 2.0 Blast version of the Switch Axe, which was the 1.0 build that I had done. That's going to come in the near future. Honestly, the exhaust version of the Switch Axe, the Tigrex one in particular, is the strongest Switch Axe in the game. You get 220 natural attack, and you can fix out the affinity the way we built this particular armor set. The other good thing is it's an exhaust file, which is really good because it slows down monsters. So that's kind of very important to have an exhaust axe. It just does more damage and is a lot quicker than using any of the blast options at the moment. I will be covering a blast build in the future. I'm kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with Teostra in the next update because it looks like the Teostra Switch Axe in particular is going to get another upgrade. And I think when it does, that might take over in terms of the best Switch Axe. But for right now, Tigrex, and also because it's just got a lot of good white natural sharpness. Okay, so with the Switch Axe, keep in mind that it is a transformable weapon. Basic combo, triple X or 4 X's, and then hit an A and you get overhead slash. You can hit the Z R button to transform the axe into the sword, and that is very good because when you're in sword mode, you can build up this gauge. When you see it green, such as here, it means that you can transform your axe to be able to do the file that it has. So basically, for here, it's exhaust. So when we swing with the sword or the axe, every time we do a hit, we are potentially getting exhaust status to the monster. Now, one of the cool things that you just saw me do is if you're in sword mode and you hit the XA button together while you're near the monster's face in particular, sometimes the tail as well, it depends on the monster, you will do a special attack with the Switch Axe where you can just deal a lot of damage to the face and that big explosion occurs. Primarily, you want to save that for when the monster is either down on the ground or you see that it's slowed down with exhaust where you can kind of get the hit off. Primarily, you don't want to really waste it because that move has a slow build-up, and you will chances are missed. This is actually a good example where if I want to, I can hit the XA button. But I want to build back up the sword gauge because as you saw, it dissipated here. So we're just going to go ham here. I'm going to transform to the X. We were able to get under there. As you see, the axe is no longer shining. That is because we are no longer in the charged up state of the switch axe. In order to build it back up, we need to transform back into the sword and build the gauge up. You could run focus on this. I don't recommend it. We're just trying to go for super fast clear times and deal a lot of damage, as well as mitigate the negative affinity that this weapon had before. Let's dodge out of the way here. Evade Extender will be able to get you out of some tough spots in particular. All right, we switch back to a sword weapon again. Just trying to build up the gauge very fast. As you see already, the Great Izuchi is in blue. That means it's close to death. Since it's down on the ground, I recommend always to just go for the XA attack or when the monster is exhausted. That way you just get a lot of damage out. Keep in mind when you're doing that attack and you're in the file mode, you will procure and do more exhaust on the monster. So it's in your benefit to always maximize that type of attack. Again, we're going to swing the axe around. The axe gets an extra attack, I should mention, when you're in, and look how quick that was. That should be probably about 3-minute clear time there. That just kind of demonstrates just how powerful this particular switch axe variant is. Honestly, I would even go to the extent and say that this is kind of overpowered in terms of weapons right now. This is definitely going to be the definitive build, at least until 3.0 drops, which will probably be at the end of the month, and then probably the tier list of what works and what doesn't work will probably get skewed. Keep in mind, you need the expert gems on your armor pieces to mitigate the negative affinity that the Tigrex switch axe has naturally. If you don't run the expert, you are not going to be able to get super fast clear times such as you just saw, due to the fact that you have negative affinity, which means that you have even less chance of dealing a critical hit, which is basically what affinity, for all intents and purposes, means. Actually, I even surprised myself. I didn't think that was going to be as quick as it was just now, right? So, but definitely what you want to do with switch axe is, you use the long axe to try to trip monsters or to take them off the ground or take them up off the air, and then transform into a sword and get a lot of hits up to build the gauge up. Whenever you see the monster down, go for the X and A. When you're in sword mode, keep in mind it has to be the X and A attack to get off a lot of damage. And then you can transform back into the axe and just kind of procure more exhaust on the monster. Stamina Fief comes in very, very handy here. Unfortunately, I don't even think we got to exhaust the monster. 3 minutes and 33-second clear time that was. All right, guys. So for the purposes of this second showcase, and hopefully the monster won't die as quick so I can show off a little bit more of the switch axe, we are fighting my favorite flying punching bag, that is the Raffian. Same strategy, obviously, as before. Only difference is if we can get a couple of flash bombs off, we will to kind of ground her because she can get up in the air. One of the good things with switch axe, though, is if you hit the X and A button when you're in axe mode, it has an overhead slash that attacks flying monsters. So that's kind of a nice little attack that we can kind of get off when we need to. We would try to abuse as much. Evade Extender will come in handy for the more mobile flying enemies such as this, because we will have a greater distance to be able to evade, and we're kind of a little bit invulnerable when we evade, depending on how we evade too, because it's kind of an art trying to learn how to evade. Obviously, everything a Monster Hunter, as I mentioned before, studying the monster's pattern and knowing how it's going to attack, and then just exploiting those patterns. All right, up in the air, switch down the axe. One of the good things, particularly with switch axe when you're fighting a flying Raffian or Rathalos, use the evade extender there, is the fact that we can swing it up here, and when you're under the legs, if you swing this axe around a lot, you have high potential of potentially tripping the monster. I'm going to swing this around. I'm not going to transform the blade at the moment. Alright, swing the axe again. As you see here, these are the basic combos of the axe. I'll dodge out of the way here. Let's transform into the blade. Keep in mind, when you're in blade mode, this is when you can procure exhaust off the bat. Obviously, we want to build this gauge up as much as possible. Our partner helped there and gave us a little detox because we were poisoned. I recommend getting a cat with Vase of Vitality if you don't have one already, because it just comes in handy, and it saves you from particularly having to heal from poison particularly so much. Alright, same strategy here. We're going to get a couple of axe attacks off. If you're swinging this axe, you can hit the ZR button if you wish to transform into the blade, and that does a blade attack. Alright, we took it off the air with the overhead blade slash. Let's swing here. We built up the gauge. Let's use X and A together to deal this nice, cool special attack to the face. Constantly smash the X button there. And this is very important. If you don't do it, you will not deal off multiple hits. You have to constantly smash the X button. Now the X is transformed. So because it's transformed, we can swing it around, and it has a chance to exhaust the monster as well. That's why it is glowing that bluish tint that you see here. Unfortunately, we have a monster that came in and is trying to do the minigame. So what we're going to do is we are actually going to ignore the minigame here because I'm just trying to go for a fast clear time. And we can kind of ignore the Bishatin. Plus, we have the axe charged up, so if we played the minigame, we would waste that gauge, which means we're actually probably doing less damage with the minigame happening. Again, the axe gets an extra attack thanks to the built-up meter. Transform that into the sword here. Alright, transform the sword. And as you see, we ran out of exhaust, so now we're going to just rebuild up the gauge here. If you hit the X and A button and you're too far away, current example, it will fire off a blast, but most of the time it's not going to hit the monster unless it like walks straight into it, which is why I always recommend when you do use the X and A special attack that you are either have the monster knocked down where it's tripped and it's falling on the ground, or you see that it's exhausted where it's drooling and it's not moving about. And try to conserve it for that, because if not, you're just kind of wasting the special attack, and you have to wait for the blade to reload the file for you to be able to fire it off again. So it's just kind of a waste of your time to do it that way. Alright, same strategy here. We're going to get off a couple of axe attacks. We trip the monster. Because we tripped the monster, we're going to transform into blade mode this way. So we transform to blade mode. Keep in mind when you're swinging the axe around and you use the ZR button, you do a nice little transform special attack. That is very handy when you already have the file available to you and you're glowing. Let's dodge out of the way here. Should probably transform back to the axe, but... Oop, that was a bad time on my part. Alright, we got a little bit punished there. That's another thing of why you don't want to hit the X and A button there. That was a little bit of a misplay on my part. Alright. It's trampling itself around. Let's just kind of keep our distance a little bit. Swing the axe now. Alright. We were able to flinch it there. That's kind of good. Something else that's very important is, before I did this hunt, I actually ate for Slugger. The reason was because it has a higher chance to stun the monster, aka trip the monster. So I actually ate for Slugger to make it a little bit easier in that retrospect. So that's something you can definitely do to augment your Switch Axe play. Keep in mind that you don't have blocks really here, so you have to be very careful with it. I'm going to transform into a sword. Alright, swing at the face. Keep in mind, like with all builds, if you hit it in the face, you're doing the maximum amount of damage from weakness exploit. We had a open area to attack with the face, so we went for the special attack again. Get it off. Remember, you gotta mash the X button when you do that, because if not, you'll fall off very quickly and you won't deal as much damage. Let's get the axe mode. Remember, the axe has an extra attack now, thanks to this mode. Alright, try to dodge around. I'm trying to get a good position here. Let's dodge again. That's where Evade Extender came in, for those of you who are wondering how I could dodge so nice and smooth out of that hit. You don't have Evade Extender, chances are the Raffian will not. As you see here, the Raffian now is drooling from its mouth. That means it is exhausted. That is thanks to the file of this weapon. That's why I say the Exhaust Switch Axe is actually a better weapon to use than the Blast Switch Axe, because you actually able to deal more damage and exhaust the monster, which, at least for now, is a better strategy for a lot of monsters than just going the blast route. You're going to see quicker clear times. Case in point, this Raffian, I would say, is about 3/4 of the way to death by now, because it's already exhausted, it's flying away. It already, as you can see, went up into the egg spot, so it's close to death even. Hasn't signaled on the top right-hand corner with the blue, but I'm pretty sure pretty soon it will be. Alright, so it's exhausted. Obviously, I used a helper to slow it down a little bit more. Let's swing our axe do-si-do. We get a trip. Keep in mind I ate for Slugger to do that. Alright, as you see, like my prediction was right, it is already at blue. Unfortunately, I don't have a file because I didn't reload the weapon yet. So we cannot hit X and A. I just reloaded it a second ago now. Here's the X and A special attack. Keep blasting it there. Obviously, all those hits that are dealing damage are triggering the weakness exploit and critical boost, so keep that in mind. Overall, this is probably the best way to win Switch Axe. Let's do an XA overhead, because it's flying in the air. We got poison here. Let's move back here, because we're not trying to cart. Not in the video here. Alright, sometimes you can get a little too aggressive with your action, so you gotta be careful. Alright, swing the axe around. We're going to transform into the blade. Let's go XA, and overhead slash will take it out. Keep in mind, you can do an overhead slash with the sword active. It's matter. Obviously, the switch axe part, or the axe part, will do more overhead because it has a higher reach, but obviously in this situation worked out just fine. As you saw, we pretty much handled that Raffian with general ease. That was probably one of the fastest solo clear times you can get with a Raffian. And even then, we probably could optimize it a little bit better if we were in perfect position to get off the XA attack in the previous screen where we weren't able to do it, where we just kind of wasted one of the attacks. So if we, but that's basically how the switch axe works, ladies and gentlemen. And this is a build will probably take you very high up. This can pretty much clear a lot of HR40 and up quest with ease. So definitely, this is my recommendation. I'd say go this way. Ignore Blast for now. Maybe in 3.0, Blast will be a bit more viable. But for now, this is like the end all to be all in terms of switch axe builds, which is very rare for me to complement a armor set this early into life for a game. All right, so let's see what this clear time is. It's got to be at least sub 7, if not 6. Let's get our loot. Get the loot a little slow here. Just trying to show you guys what loot we got. All right, pretty good. Yep. All right, exit. 7 minutes and 16 seconds. Almost 6-minute clear time by myself. In a group of 4, you probably do this in like 2 minutes flat. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. As always, a like is greatly appreciated. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, consider doing so as it helps the channel grow. I will see you Friday for the next Monster Hunter Rise video, which is Light Bowgun Magnum Malo set.